is Caroline Darney with Inside Lacrosse here from Charlottesville, Virginia, following an 11-9 win for the number 4 Notre Dame Fighting Irish over the University of Virginia Cavaliers, who are number 7 currently in the polls. It was a big early lead for Notre Dame, going out to an 8-2 lead at halftime. Virginia stormed back, making a 2-goal game with a few minutes left, but unable to convert. And Notre Dame will get the 2-goal win to go 1-0 in the ACC, while Virginia drops to 0-2 in the ACC. So big win for Notre Dame here, still before St. Patrick's Day. So it's not the end of the world, not the best thing, but great pickup for Notre Dame. Mikey Wynn had 5 goals for the Irish, Connor Doyle with 3. For Virginia, Caholen stepping up with 4 goals in the absence of James Bonnell, who is out for the season with a knee injury that he sustained during ground ball drills in practice on Thursday. And in the game, Virginia led statistically, taking face-offs 13-11, 34-30 on ground balls, and outshot the Irish, but unable to come away with the win in the end. So Notre Dame improves to 4-1, while Virginia falls to 5-2.
Welcome to the Inside Lacrosse newsroom for our hashtag Isle Game Day recap. Probably a game that jumps off the page pretty quickly today is jumps off the schedule every year. Hopkins and Syracuse, great traditional rivalry. Today kind of played another pretty fun chapter in that. Terry, you got to take in most of the game. What jumps out from you from that game?
Well, I think to start, the fact that Hopkins has been a team that over the course of the season has been very uneven emotionally. So there have been games they've come out incredibly flat, like the Princeton game, and this was a game that they came out incredibly strong, incredibly fierce to start, building 3-0 and 5-2 leads in the first quarter, and you could just tell that they had spark offensively, and it really kind of resonated. But on the flip side, Syracuse showed a lot of mettle and also a lot of just what will make them a formidable opponent throughout the course of the year, and it's just that they keep coming offensively. They have so many different options that they can turn to. If Kevin Rice isn't having a great day playmaking, then Randy Stotts will post you up on the right wing and be able to get a good look that way. Henry Schoonmaker will run you over on his way to the goal, as he did late in the fourth quarter to put the Orange up 12-10 in a goal that, in my opinion, kind of sealed the game for Syracuse.
What do you take away from Hopkins from this? I mean, obviously they don't walk away with a win that could have been a really big win for them, particularly as they're kind of winding out their out-of-conference schedule. But obviously some things they like, but then a lot of things that they got to be frustrated with, considering you could argue they had the game in hand at points and really opened up opportunities for Syracuse to get back involved.
When you look at this game, if you're Johns Hopkins, you're kind of still bouncing back from losing Rob Enright, and you lose another defenseman to a season-ending injury in practice this week. So it's another instance of overcoming adversity. I thought that not only was it their emotion and offensive prowess early that is something that you can kind of lean on. I thought that they put in a game effort at the face-off X against a really nice performance again out of Ben Williams. He went 16-27 for the Orange today, and I think that they competed. It's one of those things that it seems like a platitude, but at the same time, you said it was a fun game, and I think it was a fun game because they were able to jump out early, overcome the fact that they fell behind in the third quarter, and come back in the fourth quarter to tie the game at 10. And I think that it was that attitude from a Hopkins team that is back on its heels a little bit that I think is probably the most promising sign from this squad going forward.
Does this show how good Syracuse really is, that you just can't keep them down, or does it feel a little bit like maybe they're playing with fire a little bit and they might get burned one of these weeks?
Well, I mean, obviously with the ACC schedule ahead, they're going to see a handful of teams that they probably can't play poorly against for long stretches of periods. But I also think that there were aspects of this Hopkins game that showed not just their overall capacity for dealing with poor performances. For example, Bobby Wardwell only making 5 saves and letting in 10 goals today. That's not going to be something that you're going to see over the course of the remainder of the season. So I think that as a coaching staff, it's one of those games where you notice the deficiencies, you notice the flaws, you notice the things that you need to improve on, but ultimately you focus on the things that you did well that allows you to come away with a W.
Syracuse likely remain number 1 with a 13-10 win up in the Dome over Hopkins.
Kyle Devitt here with Inside Lacrosse. Brown tops Harvard 14-9 with a huge third quarter surge, and finishing it off in the fourth quarter. Dylan Malloy, just unbelievable. Some unbelievable shots dropped for him today. Finished with 3 and 2. Brown scored 6 goals in the fourth quarter. Just absolute domination as far as beating the doubles that Harvard was sending at them, finishing easy goals, finishing tough goals, pulling the ball all the way out. Spacing was really excellent for the Bears, especially in the second half, but definitely in the fourth quarter when Harvard was doubling, sending the keeper, a couple empty net goals there. Makes the scoreline a little more inflated than probably it would be otherwise, but still a quality win for a Brown program that has one of the best offenses in the nation. Dylan Malloy is the real deal for the Bears, and the Ivy season started out really well for Brown.
Back in the Inside Lacrosse newsroom, a score that really jumps out from Saturday afternoon has got to be Ohio State put up a surprise upset over Denver here, 13-11 out in the shoe. I mean, Terry, what do we think of that? What do you predict anymore now? We thought we had a cluster of teams that seemed head and shoulders above everybody else, and no knock at Ohio State. They're obviously a good team, but I don't think many people were thinking they were going to walk away from this one.
Well, this is the biggest upset of the season, in my opinion, and you're right. I was actually flirting with the idea of going to this game and taking it in person, but I think that there are two things to take away from this. The first is that Ohio State is 6-2. I think the fact that they lost to Detroit in their season opener, hadn't necessarily had kind of landmark wins in running out to 5-2 heading into this Denver game is the reason for maybe not necessarily understanding or believing that they had this in them. But the other thing is that when you look at this box score, I wasn't able to watch the entire game but saw pieces of it. It doesn't really make sense. It wasn't as if they got a dominant performance offensively. It was very balanced in terms of their scoring. It wasn't as if they got a dominant performance in goal. Tom Carey was 50% with 11 saves. It seemed like maybe there was an aspect of Denver having, been very high in their win over Notre Dame at home last weekend and not being able to muster the same type of energy today. They also have a quick turnaround, realizing that they're going to Lehigh on Tuesday. But obviously an enormous win for Ohio State, and the type of win that against a Denver team that's 4-2 right now, you kind of wonder, is that going to be that top 5 RPI win at the end of the season that could potentially be the key to an at-large berth if Ohio State continues on this winning percentage trajectory, but isn't able to secure the Big Ten automatic qualifier.
Another game kind of amongst top teams, almost put a scare in them. Georgetown and Duke. Duke walks away 15-13 winners, and I mean, you can't say much in this game other than Miles Jones. He just turns it on at the end of the game when Duke needed him to.
It really comes across like that type of basketball player, that point guard who uses the first 3 quarters to get his teammates involved, rack up his assist totals, and then, in crunch time when the game is close, keeps the ball in his hand, drives to the basket, or pulls up for a 3. And that's kind of what Jones did. When you look at his stat line, he went 3 and 5, and I'm pretty sure that all 3 of his goals came in the fourth quarter when, the game was only separated by a goal or 2. And I thought that it was an impressive performance. You gotta really hand it to Kevin Warren and his staff at Georgetown for not only putting in an offensive game plan that was going to be able to take advantage of some of Duke's deficiencies defensively, but also a team that was, never really put away. And for a Georgetown team that isn't a top 20 squad at this moment, to kind of show that they're not going to be beaten back the way you kind of saw Duke do to Loyola last week after the Greyhounds stayed with the Blue Devils to be nearly even through 3 quarters and then explode in the fourth quarter. It was kind of my expectation that was what was going to happen in today's game, and Georgetown didn't allow it to happen, and they were competitive throughout the remainder of the game all the way to the final whistle.
Hi, I'm Dan Abram, reporting for Inside Lacrosse. I'm here at Villanova, where we just saw Maryland defeat the Wildcats 11-2. Another week and another big defensive performance from the Terps. They held Drexel to 3 goals, they held Princeton to 4 goals, and they held another offensive foe in Villanova to just 2 goals. Now, of course, Charlie Raffa once again dominant at the X. Maryland in total went 14 of 17. They outshot the Wildcats 54-20 as well, and a lot of players were able to get on the scoreboard. Now, Maryland, they're going to take this number 1 scoring defense to California next week, where they'll face the highly potent North Carolina Tar Heels.
And 2 tight ones in the Patriot League. Loyola walks away 12-10 winners over Army, and Navy pulls out the win over Lehigh 13-12. I mean, that league's, again, I don't think we're really going to get a sense of who's walking away with that one until probably, middle of April here.
Nobody's making money betting on the Patriot League right now. As it relates to the Loyola game, once again, Zach Harrowire is among the nation's leaders in goals, puts up a 6th spot against Army. You got to tip your cap to him. One of the things that you knew was going to be a question for Loyola heading into the season and then throughout the early part of the season seems to be settling, and that is their goaltending. Grant Lamone had 18 saves against Army today. And then, just once again, it seems like Loyola is so good at figuring out how to slow down John Glessner. Last year it was putting Joe Fletcher on him, which was a pretty simple game plan choice, but I believe they held him to 1 point last season, and then he went for 1 assist today, and I think that you got to hand it to Pat Frazier for the individual effort there.
That's about it from the newsroom here in IL. Make sure you come check us out again next weekend. Follow us on Twitter, on Instagram. See you guys next week.